Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Bryan Blevins. I'm president of TTLA for this year, and I'm here today speaking on behalf of TTLA. TTLA is here today in opposition to the bill as currently drafted. I would first like to thank Chairman Freelow for having been responsive and communicative with us about our concerns, and he has done that, and we appreciate that. And we hope that we can continue to work on redrafting the bill, working on this bill so that we can get something that would serve all parties' interests. The goal of TTLA is not to prevent many of these good pilots that are here today who have talked to you extensively about wanting to fly themselves, their family, personally, solo, recreationally, into the backcountry to enjoy our great state. Our concerns generally are always when we reduce accountability. And so in this instance, what we're doing is we're moving, if a person is invited, then under the current law, a landowner would have a duty to advise them, warn them of either known or should have known of risks on the property. And what we would be doing here, obviously, is shifting that burden to a higher burden, and we would now be creating, for this unique purpose, we'd be creating an invited guest as if he were a trespasser under the law, because now the landowner would not have a duty to warn of dangers that they knew or should have known, but rather only if they knew them, didn't tell them, willfully or wantonly injured them. So generally, we are always cautious when we are looking at a consideration of that magnitude. However, under the bill, the way the statute is currently drafted, and again, we have not seen the committee substitute, but I do understand that a lot of the language that was in the bill apparently has been stripped out. We now just have a two-word bill. So that brings us then into full consideration of the statute as it exists today. And as it exists today, these limits apply into any recreational activity covered by the statute when the landowner does not charge for entry on the premises or charges for entry to the premises relative to a 20 times ad valorem tax, or has liability insurance coverage, which, if you move the standard from willful to wanton, and from negligence to willful and wanton, insurance may be very difficult for a landowner to acquire for willful and wanton conduct. So, in that situation, a commercial enterprise is a viable opportunity for land under recreational use, because the landowner wouldn't charge for entry, the right to land on the strip, but he could have a $4 million hotel 400 feet off. And under the current interpretations of this bill, it incorporates an area, a premises. One of the things that the original bill language did was attempt to define the area as the landing or takeoff area. Well, without that language, for instance, you're now talking about the premises. The premises could be a 6,000-acre ranch with all types of resort facilities. It could have mechanical shops. It could have a tower. It could have a lot of unintended consequences, and that's our primary concern relative to the bill. This isn't about a frivolous lawsuit bill. We've heard that. There isn't an onslaught of litigation that people are concerned about here. What we're trying to do is make sure, as Representative Sheets talked about safety as a concern. Generally speaking, this legislature has always been concerned about accountability in terms of being responsible for what we do or don't do. And so that's the things that we want to help work on the bill. And there's even a case that just in the black letter Civil Practice and Remedies Code, in the annotations to this bill, there's a specific case that talks about the fact that a recreational use property that was being operated as a golf course, which would be, I've played some golf. I've never played on a golf course where I wasn't charged a fee, and I didn't have to buy a beverage of some sort. And what the bill, this annotation says, is that in that instance, the person was actually injured inside the clubhouse, wasn't even utilizing that recreational area, and yet the liability limits of the recreational use statute were applied to him. So if you take it to my example, I land on the strip. I'm not charged for that. I pull up, I park my plane about next to 30 others. I buy fuel from the landowner, we might presume. I get taken by golf cart to a golf course where I play, and I pay green fees, or I stay in a resort, or I take some other activity. And so our concerns here predominantly are this, and Mr. Slack said them as well. Somebody wants to get in a plane and they're not qualified and they want to drive themselves into a ditch on somebody's private property. Okay. I hate that for them. I certainly hate it for their family if they're with them. I certainly hate it even more if there were some friends traveling with them for free. But where we think the bill should get really tightened into is the fact that there should not be a commercial enterprise on behalf of either the pilot bringing these people in or the landowner charging and earning revenues from other activities, not the entry to the premises revenue. And we've talked about, I believe Representative Sheets, you talked about the Alaska bill. And that bill, as I appreciated under Section A, is this a person who without compensation owns. And in fact, I've heard today anywhere from 25 to 29 states have some sort of statutory framework. I will tell you that we were only to identify fully 21. We'll find the others. But we've got 21 states, and you've been given, I think this has been passed out, and every single one of them, as I understand it, there is no compensation for the activity. That's how they do it. And that's what the purpose of the statute was. We want our Texans, we even want visitors to our state to come and enjoy the benefits that we have in our natural beauty of our state. Nobody wants to deny, deprive, or limit that opportunity. But when you turn that into a money-making venture, then it seems odd that we're going to then limit your liability while you make money from that opportunity. And so, as a result, we would be happy to work with Chairman Frulo to tighten the language of this bill and to make sure that it applies for its intended use, recreational statute, to protect recreational activity. And that's really, I'm going to stop myself. I have a lot of other notes. I could certainly do some other things. I do want to just clear up one point. The other thing that we would like for the committee to consider, for Chairman Frulo to consider, is if we really believe that pilots should be held accountable for this, and that's what I've heard all day long. Pilots make the decision. Pilots have the license. Pilots own the plane. Pilots operate the plane. Pilots ought to be held liable. Then why should the pilot be able to bring the landowner in as a responsible third party? Why should he get to share the liability of the case with a landowner that the injured victim can't even sue? At a minimum, the Chapter 33 responsible third party statute, this bill should instruct there that they can only add a landowner if they can show the same burden that I'm required, which would be willful and wanton. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions. I have a lot more, but you've all heard us say.
Any questions for Mr. Blevins? We appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much.
Members, we also have affirmation.